All right, hello everyone. We are going to give everybody just a couple of minutes to join. So hang out, get comfy. And when we hit the 2-minute mark, we'll go ahead and dive right in. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone. Today we are here to talk about internal communications. So that's super critical piece that helps you to drive your employee participation in these super awesome volunteer programs that you put together. We have a couple of experts with us who are going to teach us everything they know on these topics, and we will go ahead and dive right in. All right, so today we are going to, of course, first do welcome and introductions. Then we're going to talk about 3 main topics. So understanding key stakeholder communication needs, tailoring your communication plans, and then leveraging all kinds of different media channels to really get your message across. We do have Q&A turned on for the webinar. You are more than welcome to drop your questions. When we get to the end of these 3 topics, we'll pause for Q&A. Time allowing, but do rest assured, any questions that you drop, our team will get back to you with the answers if we're not able to get to them on the call. All right, and to introduce myself, hello, I'm Missy. I'm our Senior Director of Global Engagement here at Goodera. I am based in Dallas, Texas, where I live with my wife and many cats. I've been in the CSR industry for about 10 years. Oh, and I use she, they pronouns. And I will hand it over to Rachel to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Kesselman. I'm with FedEx. I'm a communications advisor here. I've been at FedEx for over 17 years. I'm based in Memphis, Tennessee, where FedEx is headquartered. I lead volunteerism globally here at FedEx, focusing on in-person volunteerism, virtual volunteerism, and trying to encourage team members to use their skills to do skills-based volunteerism. Really excited to be here to talk about volunteerism and communications around volunteerism. I'm a graduate of the University of Kansas, Rock Chalk, and I have a dog, and his name is Fog, and he's a Catahoula leopard dog.
We should talk Kansas sometime. I was born in Kansas.
Oh, cool. Love it.
And then handing it over to you to intro yourself, Kenrick.
Thank you, Missy. I'm Kenrick Fraser. I'm the global lead of employee community impact and partnerships at PayPal. I look after all of the ways that we inspire and enable our employee community to further PayPal's mission through volunteerism and giving. An army of nearly 30,000 strong employee volunteers. I'm based here in New York City. And I went to NYU for grad school. I've been in the CSR space for over 14 years now, and very excited for this discussion today. I know employee communications is critical for how we inspire our employees.
I'm so excited that you're both here. All right, we're going to jump into hear from you all. We've got a couple of polls that we'll do throughout the session, so you'll see it pop up like you do now. So our first question is, what are some challenges you face in communicating with different stakeholders? So pick your favorites and we'll see what everyone has to say. All right, 5 more seconds. All right, so we have some cool answers here. So it looks like getting executive leadership bought in was the most popular topic. Thankfully, we definitely have people here to share how they do that today. We had a lot of people also say measure communication effectiveness. Not surprising. And then our next up was lack of awareness of the program overall. We'll definitely be covering really good info on all of these topics. All right, so jumping into our first big subject today, so understanding key stakeholder communication needs. And as you all know, I'm sure there are four main groups when it comes to key stakeholders. And for some of you, there may be additional groups that are a little bit more niche to your industry or your business. But the four big ones are your leaders. So that's going to be your top level leaders, your executives, but also your direct managers, your middle management. Next up, you have your champions. So these are the leaders within volunteerism. So the people who are creating events, getting people excited, making things actually happen on the ground. Next up, you have your employee volunteers. So everybody that you want to bring along and get to participate in your programs. And then finally, you have your external stakeholders. So what's the story that you're telling to the world and what is that audience? All right, so Kenrick and Rachel, question for you both. What are the common challenges that you face when communicating with diverse stakeholder groups?
Rachel, you want to go first?
Sure. I think some of the challenges that we have, communicating to diverse stakeholders is that you have to kind of sort of tailor some of the communications differently for each of those groups. At FedEx, we have over 400,000 team members here, and they're all at various levels from, executives to like the champions to the volunteers and to even just externally. You have to really be able to kind of have a tailored conversation with each of those groups and try to make it relatable and relevant. Our goal really at FedEx is to create volunteer activities that are engaging to team members that in the communities where they live and work. We do, want them to align to our three core pillars, and our three core pillars are delivering for good, which is, using our network to do disaster related or special shipments, whether we're working on sustainability and focusing on how we can make the world, a better and greener place, since we at FedEx do use a lot of resources with planes and vehicles, and then looking at global entrepreneurship and how, Mr. Smith was an entrepreneur, and how we can create the next generation of entrepreneurs, small women-owned businesses. But additionally, beyond that, we want to also have team members follow their passions. So again, how can we, communicate all those different things, whether it's, how they're relating to our core pillars versus how we're kind of connecting to people's passions locally in the communities where they live and work, knowing what the best ways to, really activate volunteerism. So again, you kind of have to create sort of different strategies to communicate and get those key stakeholders engaged and involved and continue to grow the program to engage the people that you're trying to either come volunteer, encourage their team members to volunteer, or to tell those stories about what good things that we're doing.
That sounds like such a puzzle, and that's so many employees to bring along, not to mention it sounds like small businesses as external stakeholders as well.
Absolutely.
Kendrick, did you want to add anything there?
Yeah, so very similar to Rachel, our employee population at PayPal is quite diverse. About 50% of our employees are corporate employees. The next 50% are volume call center workers. So we have a different approach and a very tailored approach to communicating to the various populations of our employees. But then also externally, we do a lot around small businesses, and then we also support a lot around our nonprofit partners. And so for us, throughout our program, we wanted to focus on our lens, which is our mission and vision and values. And our mission is to revolutionize commerce globally. And so we want to ensure when an employee is volunteering, they understand why their volunteer efforts is impacting the communities where they live and work, and how it connects back to the mission, vision, and values. Because at our company, we truly believe that volunteerism is something that connects our employees to each other, but then to the company as well.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're tying that why into everything beyond just like, here's what to do and how to do it, but here's why we do what we do. I love that. Well, we're going to go into each one of these four groups together. So we'll ask more questions as we go. So looking at our first group here. So for top asks for executive leadership. So we have an amazing CSM team who work very closely with both of you, of course, but with all the different companies that we partner with. And they gave some great feedback around like, what are the most popular things that clients are asking for help with? What are they asking for guidance around? We hear a lot of questions around industry benchmarks and best practices. Goodera actually has a really cool tool for that we'll share with you all in a sec. One of the biggest ones is why volunteering. So whether it's, I want to start volunteering for the first time at my company and really be a pioneer, or I want to revamp what we're doing, or just I want to keep getting the budget to keep doing what we're doing. What's the ROI on volunteering is a really important thing for executive leaderships. And then new policy consultation. So, hey, we got approval for VTO. How do we do that? What should the policy look like? Can you help us with that? So Kendra, question for you, kind of a broad question here. How do you secure leadership buy-in for volunteering, and how do you keep doing that?
Thank you, Missy. So I would say when it comes to leadership, I really want to communicate to them how it's benefiting their people and the company overall. And so for me, I partner directly with people analytics to really assess how our employees who volunteer, what volunteerism does to their intent to stay at the company, how it keeps them at PayPal, but then also how it correlates with their promotion as well as their engagement scores. And this has been critical year over year, even as leadership changed. So at PayPal, we recently had a huge leadership change. And our new leadership is also very committed to the community impact program because they see what community impact does for the company, but then also our employees and the communities where we live and work. And so I root it really on the ROI from a people perspective, first and foremost, but then afterwards also highlight the social impact and how it builds the brand of the company through working with our brand marketing team as well as our communications team.
And are there particular like metrics you like to drill in on the ROI?
Yeah, so engagement and retention are the top two for sure. In addition to that, we divide it based on the team level as well. And so teams can dig into and do analysis on which teams are more engaged and why in terms of going beyond participation numbers. But the reason why all of this is important is because we are then able to show teams that by participating in volunteer programs, your employees are more happier at PayPal and also have a stronger sense of belonging. Belonging is also another factor that we measure. We will also compare it to employees who have not participated in our programs at all. And so that correlation and that strong correlation has been the bread and butter of our program. And we continue to do that on a biannual basis.
So you're able to actually say people who volunteer and people who don't, here's the actual measurable difference.
Exactly. And so, for example, people who volunteer on average stay at PayPal for at least 4 more years, while the people who don't volunteer stay for less than 3 years.
Wow, that's incredible that you can even just say that number flat and know it. How about you, Rachel? What do you focus on with leadership buy-in?
I think with leadership buy-in for us, because we are such a large company, we really try to focus on how the engagements can be really team building opportunities and really break down barriers and allow like team members to not just to be in a low-key environment with the executives to do hands-on engagement. And it's really an opportunity for team members to work side by side with leadership. It's a way for teams in even different kind of divisions or work groups to break down those barriers, because maybe you're having a tough time with the IT team and marketing team are working on projects together. Bringing them in a low stakes kind of team building activity through volunteerism really can help break down those barriers and really create a really good sense of community. But it's like I said, because we have such a diverse workforce, whether it's frontline team members, whether it's people that are through customer service that are focusing on calls, whether it's people that are working on different areas in accounting, marketing, whatever those different work groups may be, it's really an opportunity for us to kind of get together, with a common mission to give back to the communities where we live and work, whether that's the global community through virtual volunteering that we're doing with Goodera, or whether it's, what we're doing with Operation Warm, going into a school, delivering brand new coats and shoes in a very specific market. So I think there's just a lot of opportunities for, to gear to the executives that community that we're building together, which again, hopefully leads to what Kendrick was talking about, having happier employees, having people stay longer at FedEx, having people feel like they want to be, that this makes it a better place to work. I wish we had some of the same metrics that Kendrick has with in correlation to how long people stay at FedEx. But I do know that, we have people that say the highest things that in our survey responses are, that it does make them feel good that FedEx is providing these opportunities for them to volunteer and give back. It's anywhere between like 92% and above for that. We also see that when they volunteer, that if it is a very positive experience, they want to volunteer again at 98% or above. And then usually if it's a very good experience, we have my favorite statistics is saying, would you recommend this to somebody else? And we get for some of our projects, we get 100% and above. It's never usually below 95%. They always want to recommend other team members to join. So I think that's encouraging for executive leadership to see those kind of numbers. And again, it's kind of growing year over year to continue those engagements that they're finding positive and rewarding. And again, also aligning to their passions, even if it's maybe falls outside of the core pillars that we're focused on.
And it sounds like you both have really tailored approaches to getting that feedback loop so that you're constantly able to tell your executive leadership, this is what people are saying, this is what it's actually doing. And Rachel, I love there's the messaging coming from leadership of like, yes, we want to volunteer, but there's no bigger message than like rolling your sleeves up and volunteering together. So I love that you all are able to do that. One more question for you, Rachel. The plane behind you is making me think of this. So like, obviously you have employees that some of them are at a desk. And some of them are literally flying around the world, bringing us packages. And some of them are delivering them. So with people just on the move so much, do you have a different approach when it comes to communication with direct managers or middle managers to try to reach those employees who may not always be in the same spot?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a challenge. So we have a variety of different things that we try to do and encourage. And we're even hopefully in this next year piloting some new things as well. But we work with communication directly to the executive's office, and hopefully they're able to share that down to the managers through email or other channels. We also post things in different channels, like we use video boards, we use different types of notifications. I leverage a lot, not only with the executives, but also with our FedEx Cares leads, as we call them, that are kind of our ambassadors to the program. They really help work with leadership. And then it's really a lot about, again, us getting out there from a FedEx Cares team perspective and really kind of doing a lot of dog and pony shows and really kind of educating and re-educating. But, again, we look forward to the future, whether it's promoting through a FedEx Cares only newsletter to really kind of communicate about these activities. But we know that some team members do not have access to the email. So we really do rely on those different managers to use their stand-ups where maybe they're, stretching to get ready to go help get the packages off the belt, get ready to deliver the packages. The stand-up meetings that they have, we try to, encourage small talking points to talk about what's going on, where they could find more information about FedEx Cares, and how they can engage. And it's really surprising to see those team members when they see something that's interested in they want to participate in, they get excited, those frontline team members. And that's how we get team members who don't have email addresses to come virtually volunteer with us and do sign language classes, to get those team members to come help deliver coats or shoes, or to get them to go out and plant trees. Again, I think it's just it's a lot of trial and error, but we keep trying in order to get to it.
Yeah, it sounds like you got to stay flexible and always be willing to experiment. All right, well, jumping forward, we are going to pause for just one sec. So Goodera has a super cool tool where you can actually measure how your volunteering programs stack up to others, like in your industry, by your size. We know people love to look at this and play with it on our website. So scan that QR code if you'd like to check it out, and definitely reach out if you have more questions. And we'll go ahead and jump ahead. All right, so, and you started to touch on this a little bit, Rachel. So moving to our next stakeholder group with champions. So these are the people, some people call them ambassadors. People have such varying degrees of either how they approach building these champions. We could talk about that all day, or how they approach advancing, making this a more robust network of champions. Now, when it comes to communication, these are your people who are like, they need to know absolutely everything. They need to know way beyond the how, the what, and the why, but actually be given the tools to go lead volunteering for themselves. So I know both of you have your own version of this, so I'm curious to hear from you. How do you address the unique needs of your champions? What does that look like in your world?
Kendrick, would you like to start or would you like me to start?
I'm happy to. So for our champions at PayPal, and we call them community impact leaders, we have a variety of them at every site across the world. And so for the community impact leaders, we actually enable them to facilitate community impact teams, and the teams help plan and execute all of the volunteer events, the team members. But for the community impact leaders, they're really seen as some of the leaders on the broader site leadership council and team. And so what we try to do is really enable them to have a growth experience in that role. So yes, you're volunteering, and through your volunteering, you're a catalyst for volunteerism and enabling a lot more employees to volunteer. However, we want to also ensure that in partnership with learning and development, we actually have set out core competencies that we want them to develop, and then have training sessions around those core competencies, and then enable them to practice those skills that they're learning in those trainings as a community impact leader, and then apply it back to their day jobs. And so it's something that we also communicate to their managers as part of the recognition, because recognition is huge for these leaders that go above and beyond. But then in addition to that, we want to ensure that their managers know how, yes, they're volunteering and they're spending a significant amount of their time doing these volunteer initiatives, but it's also developing them and taking them to the next level. And so that's some of the key focuses for us in that group, is ensuring that we're using it as a growth experience, and then also recognizing them.
Okay, so your part of the communication is also celebrating them.
Exactly.
From a one question to go a little bit deeper with you, from a, so say like I'm a new member of your champion network, and of course you want me to be on brand and you want me to know like the ABCs of everything I should be doing, but I'm sure you also want me to follow my passion and encourage me to, you know, operate in my own direction in some way. So how do you balance communication between keeping it on brand, but also like get passionate, get excited, and do your own thing?
Great question. So most of our programming, and from the very beginning, if you're a new community impact leader, we'll give you training, onboarding, and there's a different type of events. So during our global campaigns, our month of service, PayPal Impact Day, which is our new annual day of service, which we launched for the first time ever with Goodera this year. So these moments in time, we have more prescriptive volunteer events. So we want your volunteer event to specifically support small businesses or specifically support community impact grantees, because it goes back to our why and back to the company's why. And so we center it on that. However, we do encourage people to do volunteering events year round. And so outside of those 3 to 4 global campaigns and core programs, we empower our employees to get involved with what they're passionate about, but then also I highly encourage them to root it into the local needs of the communities. And how we get them to root it into the local needs of the communities is they actually are part of the decision-making process. Every single PayPal employee gets the ability to be part of the decision-making process of what nonprofit partners locally we partner with and give grants to. And it starts from there. because they learn about the nonprofit needs and how those needs are connected back to our mission, but then also how they're strengthening the local communities. And what we found is it increased the amount of people that wanted to get involved with mission aligned volunteer events because they're learning from the beginning about the impact that these organizations that focus on small businesses are having.
That's incredible. Yeah, it sounds like a true growth experience. How about you, Rachel? How about your volunteer network, and how do you communicate with them?
Sure. So we have what I call the FedEx Cares leads, which are pretty much like ambassadors for the FedEx Cares program. Within that, there's kind of sort of different levels of those people because it's really more of like people who are hand raisers that want to participate. And then, so we have like some people that are just there to hear what's going on. We have some people that are much more active. So it depends. And we, again, try to have monthly calls that they are able to kind of hear what's going on, because really for FedEx volunteerism is really like a push and pull effort, where from a corporate perspective, the FedEx Cares team leads some large corporate events that we're pushing out that may be being activated in local markets globally. And then there's also that opportunity from a pull perspective where they can really request those funds through a community engagement program to really create an activity that's very localized for that community where they live and work. So that's a combination, and the FedEx Cares leads do an amazing job helping to communicate throughout the corporation what activities are going on, whether they're leading it or things that they're passionate about, if they're doing purple tote collections or other activities that really focus on, giving back through FedEx Cares. Additionally, we try to leverage our business resource teams through HR to really focus on how we can engage volunteer components within that. So we spend a lot of time doing a lot of communication and engagement and speaking with those teams that may align something very specific to those BRTs, to whether that's related to the LGBTQ plus group and doing something around Pride Month, whether it's focusing on Hispanic Heritage Month and doing something very specific for them. There's just, again, a lot of opportunities to really engage teams through those aspects as well. And then we also focus on looking at within HR at the DE&I aspects, because on top of that, there's the diversity, equity, inclusion, and we've included opportunity. So we work closely with that team to really focus on what their alignments are through volunteerism, because they also engage in scholarships and doing mentoring and some things that and working with our HBCUs, which may have some aspects with volunteerism. So we really try to collaborate with those groups in order to really fill out and communicate differently and kind of try to align what the volunteerism needs, or as we call it, purple tote collections, any sort of engagement activities that we can kind of align with those teams. And finally, I think the one thing that we've been really working on, focusing on within the last few years is really how we can engage those new hires through, again, HR as they're onboarding, how that we can kind of educate, understand, and have them kind of dip their toes into FedEx Cares as they're onboarding, so they're kind of aware of that program. Because again, the more that you can kind of through these various different stakeholders, we can kind of tentacle down and really create that empowerment and exposure of FedEx Cares, because we really want to empower anybody to be an advocate for FedEx Cares volunteerism and lead those programs. We're very focused on tracking our events, creating a rewards program in the last couple of years in the US. It started in the US. We did some rewards and recognition programs. And last year we launched the program internationally to reward and recognize our top volunteers. And that's been very successful. And also just hearing the great stories that have come out have also created additional volunteer events. And then we, knowing that we're a global company, we really have to be mindful from a communication perspective of how we can what I'm doing in the US from a FedEx Cares ambassador perspective may have to be very different for the regional things, just based on the regional things that and challenges that they have. So we have to be mindful of how we communicate, how we have to adjust the tools, the training in order to get people engaged to kind of focus on that volunteerism. So there is no one size fits all solution. again, it's a lot of trial and error. There's challenges in different things that we do, but we really want to be mindful of how we can create very like positive volunteerism across the globe, and how we can, again, how we can align it to our core FedEx Care volunteer programs, but then again, still providing that opportunity for team members to lead activities that they're passionate about, and or just record their own volunteer hours for things that they're passionate about, whether they're serving on a board, maybe they're going to a local soup kitchen every week to prepare meals, or doing something with their family, or even a Boy or Girl Scout troop leader. I think, again, there's just a lot of opportunities, and trying to communicate those needs in different flavors is kind of how we're trying to do it.
I'm hearing a common theme here too of, so like, even as I was asking the question, I was thinking about how do you communicate with your champions? And I really love how you drew this picture of it's a two-way communication. So similar to your surveys and how you're always listening, always learning, like you're listening and you're collaborating, and it's a two-way communication between these very involved champions for your volunteerism and how you can evolve your programs. I love that. You also touched on one thing that was a very popular question that people submitted before the webinar even started, and that was tracking. So I just wanted to note, we will get to that in the Q&A, but people had so many questions for y'all around all of the things about all of tracking. All right, we're going to go ahead and move down to our next group of stakeholders. So we have employee volunteers. So these are, of course, the hands and the hearts that are making all of the volunteering happen. So when it comes to communicating with these groups, we know there are a lot of tactical things that you want to communicate, where to be, what to bring, what shoes to wear, what location to be at, things like that. Educating them about what the events are about, how the beneficiaries will actually benefit from the efforts of their volunteering. And then, of course, the most fun part is sharing the impact back with them. So all this work that you all did, here's what this did, here's who benefited from it. Kenrick, question for you. What do you do to help your volunteers really feel the impact of their work and want to keep volunteering again and again?
Thank you, Missy. So we really want to center the volunteer experience in the needs of our communities. So it really starts before the volunteer event, and setting it up and ensuring that they understand who they're going to serve, why they're going to serve, and why specifically them, right? And this going back to the our why and the why PayPal should be participating. It's like anyone else could be doing this. Why do we need to do it?
Mhm.
And so it really roots them into the needs of the communities, but then how small businesses, actually 60 to 70% of employment globally is by small businesses. And so we do want to truly root them in that, into the impact that they can have and what their volunteer event will have. And then after the volunteer event, we communicate the stories of impact, and actually help them understand a bit more about who they served, and hear it specifically from our nonprofit partners and the beneficiaries through storytelling, and through human-centered storytelling and centering the beneficiaries in these stories. And so our employees get so inspired by that, and the recap stories tend to ensure that people come back to volunteer again. In addition to that, we also like to connect to different communities. Similar to Rachel, and I believe, Rachel, you called it BRTs at your org. So like we have employee resource groups. And so beyond our community impact teams, we also connect to our employee resource groups to ensure they know how volunteerism can strengthen their specific communities. Same thing with our business units as well as our site teams. We found the site story is a story that people galvanize around. I'm a New Yorker. I'm very much so a New Yorker. And New Yorkers galvanize around helping New York. And so we've seen that everywhere around the world, in Chennai, in Bangalore, in Shanghai, in Dublin, it's the same thing. And so rooting the stories in the local needs, but then also ensuring that they know how it furthers PayPal's vision.
So you've got this like shared purpose that everybody's getting rallied around, but you're really getting people excited around how that shared purpose applied locally for like their own local pride.
Exactly. And even for our global campaigns and initiatives, when we look at our communication strategy, we set a global framework and consistent global messaging document. So I would have a narrative document that ensures that globally everyone is on brand and has the same messaging, but then they apply the local context and add a little bit of nuances that really talks about how this impact is delivered in their community. And so the framework ensures that we are connected as one company. And so you could be speaking to a colleague during a global campaign about what they did during the volunteer experience, and they had the same volunteer experience. And that ensures that you have the power of shared experience and shared purpose that brings communities together, not only connects them to the company, but connects them to each other, right? So you could be speaking to colleagues in other business units or others, but they also had the same shared experience with you.
And as you're talking through this, I'm picturing like all of the wrap up videos I've seen over the ones that just like you tear up and you get so excited and proud. So I'm totally visualizing those as you're talking through it. Rachel, you mentioned something earlier that I wanted to tap into, specific to employee volunteer communication. So you were talking about surveys. So can you tell us a little bit more about how you tap into the voice of your employee volunteers and how you use that?
Yeah, I think tapping into the survey results really helps drive what programs we can expand and really drive forward. I've built business cases on getting additional funding for projects based on the feedback directly from our volunteers, because I think that like I said, from that push perspective of what we're doing from a corporate standpoint, we can really maximize and empower our team members when we provide them very quality volunteer programs that they want to, engage in and really want to be a part of within their local communities. I think the best example we can see from that is our growth with our relationship with Operation Warm, which is where we deliver coats. It started as just delivering coats. It actually started as an in-kind shipping relationship where we were providing in-kind shipping for the nonprofit, and that grew to it grew out of that to really focusing on what I call team member driven engagements, where their powered deliveries, where our team members go and fit the kids in one school in a local community with brand new coats in a K-5 school. And it's just an amazing experience. And so hearing the team members' feedback really helped grow that program, and to the expansion of now we're doing shoes. So we do coats in the fall and shoes in the spring, and really be able to, team members love it. They tell us, I get, 100% I want to come back and do it again next year. 100% I would recommend it to other team members to join. So again, I think it's critical because you can see what's working and what's not working. So I think that's a huge part of focusing on understanding the needs and the communication. I think it's also super important when you're setting up these projects to really communicate what they're expected to do and what they want to do at these events before they sign up, so they understand what they want to do. Because there's definitely projects where some people want to be outside and volunteer outside, and some people don't. Some people want to work with kids, some people don't. Some people want to help come and volunteer pre-set up, breakdown, set up, whatever they want to do. They want to be there for that whole entire time. There's some people that only want to give an hour of their time. So we have to be mindful of that. So I think if you can kind of keep it simple, short, explain what you're really wanting for the teams, they'll really be more engaged and likely to come to your events.
Yeah, and when I put my employee volunteer hat on, when I'm signing up for an event, I want to know exactly what to expect. Like, what kind of shoes should I wear? Am I getting dirty? Are we going to be outside? Is it going to rain? Are we going to be inside? Yeah, totally. So setting that expectation is definitely key. And I love how you're able to really mobilize the voice of your people, especially when you have so many people. That's a really powerful thing.
I think it's always a challenge because, again, some of those the team member projects that they set up themselves, we're not getting as much of that data back. But again, it's an evolution of how you're driving your program. And so as we get more involved, some of those ambassadors are better at doing that than others. So it's, like I said, it's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of growth, but there's lots of room for opportunity and lots of room for growth. The other thing I think is that you want to make these programs that you're going to, you only have one shot really for some of these volunteers, especially at a large company like FedEx. So if they have a bad experience, whether that's on our side from a leading it perspective with the nonprofit, or they're having a bad experience working with that nonprofit, you have one shot. So again, because you want to make these experiences outstanding and make them want to help volunteer and give back in their communities and want to come to a FedEx event and want them to say, hey, I want, to bring like my other team members to come. So what can we do to make this just, drive that experience to be outstanding? So they'll want to volunteer with us again, but also with the nonprofit, those are their potential donors. Even if they can't give funding at the time, being able to have an outstanding experience with that nonprofit can lead to other things and lead to additional volunteerism, even if it's outside of working with a FedEx Cares initiative.
For sure. And like setting expectations and listening afterwards are a good way to set yourself up for success. I'm going to jump to our last group of stakeholders. We're going to touch on this one lightly to make sure we can get to everything. So external stakeholders, this is different for everybody. This plays out in press releases, social media posts. Kendrick, I know you talked about your small businesses, you too, Rachel. So for you all, just lightly, what does this look like for you in terms of what are your external stakeholder groups and what are you thinking about when it comes to communication? And Kendrick, we can start with you.
Yeah, so when it comes to external communications, I first and foremost, in partnership with our external comms partners, really look at how do we do two things. One, uplift and showcase the stories of the beneficiaries. It's not about us, it's about them. It's their story. We are just a small part of the story and a small part of the journey of how many of these small businesses are helping to start, sustain, and scale their business. So that's first. Second, we definitely look at how do we showcase and build our employer brand, right? When someone looks at these videos of our volunteer campaigns and initiatives, they need to say, oh, wow, like this is a purpose-driven company. I want to work there. And so those are the two lenses that we think about throughout all of our communications, from a wraparound social media approach. And so from social media, we activate our executives on social media, but then also our champions. But then in addition to that, our employee volunteers who participate in the programs and nonprofit partners and small businesses. And so we provide them with toolkits. I know I'll share a bit about our Impact Day social media shortly, but we look at for a true surround sound, wraparound social media approach where people can share their experience organically on social. In addition to that, there's nothing like visuals. And so as Missy was sharing earlier about video visuals and imagining it, we love visuals both internally and externally to tell the story, because you might not always have time to read the story, but taking 30 seconds to watch a compelling video can inspire you to get involved again, and also inspires external audiences as well to get involved with that nonprofit partner, find out how they can be part of the impact as well.
Thank you. For the sake of time, Rachel, we're going to go ahead and jump to the next topic. I know you're both excited to drill into that one. So tailoring communication strategies for campaigns. So all the different types of volunteerism that shows up out there, how are you tailoring it? So these are some of the best practices for internal comms. Some of the ones that stand out to me, because I'm kind of a nerdy project manager type person, promoting the campaign at least 90 days in advance, super hard to make that happen, but great thing to shoot for, as well as making sure that the way that you're branding your campaign is unique across your different volunteering efforts. So Rachel, handing it over to you to look at this, or is there one of these that stands out to you that you'd like to drill into?
Yeah, I think really going back to kind of the core of FedEx Cares is, really tapping it into the employee passion, because we know that's what's going to drive people to really volunteer. And, I would say 60 to 70% is still going to be aligned with what we're actually doing from a core perspective, because it's, a part of our delivering for a good portfolio, or it's part of like global entrepreneurship, or it's part of sustainability. But then, allowing those team members to really connect and create things that are important to the communities where they live and work. When you can tap into their passion, they're really going to commit to volunteering and also log their hours, which I think is a core thing that we see, which again can get these people rewarded and recognized. Just looking at an example, we have team members that were recognized around the globe for some of their passions, and some of them align to our core volunteer things. And one of our team members in Europe, actually, he's working for in sustainability, helping to restore a land that was originally a coal area, and they're really focusing on building a forestry where that coal industry was. And again, it turned out that he was just doing this on his own, and we were able to really align our work with Arbor Day to really fund some additional projects, and he could bring other team members out there. So it
Wow.
was kind of a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's uncovering those type of stories and passions in our team members that was really going to drive that change, and have them tell the stories that are going to encourage more team members to come out and volunteer. So I think that's just, just a core thing that we can really kind of lean into.
Yeah, like harnessing the stories of those particular employees to inspire other people to do the same. I love that. How about you, Kenrick?
I would say it's to clearly define your why. And so at the core of our program is focused on PayPal's why. And that goes back to our employees coming together for a shared purpose, which is our mission. And our mission drives everything that we do, from our products and services to our volunteerism and giving. And so we want to ensure that, our employees are connected to that mission, but then also understand the local needs in their communities, and how the mission and through their volunteerism, they're driving an impact in their local communities. And so that's the biggest focus throughout our communications approaches, both internally and externally, is communicating our why.
Yeah, and when you have a why that's so involved in activating people locally, it's easy for them to get on board with that, and it becomes their why too.
Exactly.
Well, out of types of volunteerism, I know we have four main types of volunteerism that we all tend to interact with. So you've got your year-round volunteering, the general pulse of all of your volunteer efforts throughout the year. You've got your volunteer campaigns. This is going to be your day of giving, your month of giving, that sort of thing. You've also got heritage moments. So, what are you doing for Pride Month? And then, of course, I think our favorite topic for everyone, disaster relief, and how are you responding to that with your employee volunteerism? So with these particular topics, I'd love to know from both of you, really, which of these presents the highest communication challenge, and how do you navigate that? Rachel, we can start with you.
Sure. Yeah, one of our big focus is we are doing year-round volunteerism. And so I think the challenge is encouraging that there is year-round volunteerism, and knowing that there are definitely moments in time that we are specifically hitting, whether that's, again, we deliver coats in the fall in the US, shoes in the spring, we have MLK Day. And, again, those are some of the big, larger corporate things that we do, as well as the, things that team members can do locally to support the communities where they live and work. And intertwined with that is going into your slide number 4, specifically around disaster related volunteerism. With FedEx leveraging our network for delivering for good and leveraging our resources, we really do spend time focusing on creating disaster related kits, especially because we are using our network to help nonprofits respond within 24 to 48 hours, and sometimes 72 hours after disasters hit. So what can we do to help prepare those nonprofits? And a lot of our teams do a lot of work around hygiene and household kitting items to really make sure that people are taken care of during a natural or man-made disaster, whether that's getting food, whether that's getting the supplies, or even the treatment that's needed. Our team really is helping to really focus and work on those type of activities. Actually, in about 2 weeks, we have team members that are kitting hygiene and first aid response kits in the Latin America community for all the hurricane season that's happening right now. But again, we're constantly ensuring that we are setting up those nonprofits for success to really have our team support those efforts, because anyone could be in those impacting communities at any given time, especially
Yeah,
with the way that
it
the
sounds like a
world
really
goes.
clear, established strategy. And I think that's the most important thing with disaster relief, is that you can't predict the disaster, but you can have like your template for when do we activate, how do we tell people, who do we tell? And that makes all the difference to be as ready as you can when those surprises come up, for sure.
And I think that team members, everybody can align to that and feel like they're helping somebody, because you're helping your neighbor, because you don't know what you don't need until you need it. Like those basic supplies, a toothbrush,
Yeah.
toothpaste, a comb, shampoo, a towel. Those are things that are needed, again, when a natural disaster or a man-made disaster happens. And just food, basic food.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a clear path for employees who don't know all the things that they would need to do to show up and just do good. How about you, Kenrick? Any of these stand out as particularly challenging for you, and how do you navigate it?
Yeah, so, something that I think can pose a challenge, that we have navigated and the complexities of and found very successful, is the campaigns, the volunteer campaigns. And I truly believe that volunteer campaigns, it's so important to put the time and energy into those, because that is how you inspire more people to come into your program, and it fuels everything else, right? And so you bring them into the fold with the volunteer campaigns, and then you get them involved with year-round volunteerism afterwards, or other initiatives. As Rachel said, right? Once they have that good experience, they'll keep coming back. And so we use a multi-pronged surround sound approach for our volunteer campaigns to create that buzz ahead of time, leveraging site communications, but then also senior leadership and executive communications at time, all the way up from our CEO, and ensuring that even the business unit executives, but then also that the champion network of our community impact leaders and ERGs are also promoting those campaigns. Campaigns are also supposed to be full of energy, right? And
Yeah.
so we love to at times physically redo our offices, to get people excited about the campaigns, to create that buzz as the campaigns are coming up, but then also use specific messaging to really focus on back to our why that we are trying to instill in our employees, understand how it connects back to the mission values. So, for example, in the fall, Global Entrepreneurship Week is a major moment. A lot of our communications will be talking about the economic impact on the world that small businesses have. And that's going to be embedded in all of the messaging in the lead up to Global Entrepreneurship Week, during Global Entrepreneurship Week, but then also afterwards.
I love that. Yeah, and a good campaign communication strategy is just kind of like, it makes you think of like a symphony. Like you have all your different parts that are flowing around each other. And I love your highlight of always continuing to tap into the why. Well, speaking of both of your campaigns, we wanted to give you both a chance just to share with everyone some of the cool things that you've done. So Kenrick, I'll hand it over to you to talk about PayPal's Global Impact Day.
Thank you, Missy. So PayPal Impact Day, we had our first ever PayPal Impact Day this year, on June 27th, which is International Small Business Day. And it was a very interesting campaign, because what we decided to do is, there's times that we focus on skills-based volunteerism for small businesses. For this volunteer event, we enabled our employees to not only support nonprofits that are strengthening their communities and specifically our community impact grantees, these partners that they've selected in the past, but then also to do so by finding small businesses that has items that we can purchase to meet the needs of our nonprofits through kits, kit packing, and creating other events and initiatives. And so a couple things in the lead up to PayPal Impact Day, we leveraged that multi-channel approach that I spoke about, activating senior leaders, activating local leadership, people managers, and more to get people excited. We actually kicked it off by playing a video and our CEO announcing it at our global all hands with all employees watching to first kick off employee registration. And so that was in the lead up. People got excited about it. And we ensured that small businesses are highlighted in every component, from the icebreaker to the recap. There's a small business component. During the campaign, the day of the event, the offices were decked out with Impact Day branding. Employees, got T-shirts again for the first time in a very long time, thanks to COVID. And so they were very excited about the volunteer activity. And it was also an opportunity that we really said, let's focus on our site communities as well as our virtual hub communities and fully virtual. So 20% of our employees are actually remote. And so we had, let's focus on our employees at the sites coming together to make a difference together. But then also, there are places where employees live near each other in critical mass, but there's no physical location. And I always say offices are place-based anchors of community, but they're not the end-all be-all of the community. And so we empower our employees to get together to volunteer on PayPal Impact Day, but then also other days at our nonprofit sites, or at other times we rent locations for them to get together to volunteer together as a community, which connects them back to their local community, but then also to each other. And it's actually been one of the highest sparks of engagement for virtual employees. And then, earlier I shared about social media. But during and post the campaign, we've activated our nonprofits and others, our employees, our leaders, to share on social media. We actually had 870,000 organic impressions from our social media campaign.
Wow.
Goodera helped us build this amazing social wall, which we were able to see as social media posts came in with our hashtag, which Goodera monitored for us as well. It was so much fun. All of the impact that's happening all around the world live that day. And it actually made employees want to post more because they can see their posts coming up and, oh, look at my colleague in Shanghai, or look at my colleague in Guatemala. And so it was a huge initiative, and we look forward to continuing to build upon it in the years to come.
And it was such a unique, huge program, which is the sense of community across the board. And we were really proud to partner with you all on that.
Thank you for your partnership.
And then Rachel, you do so many different programs throughout the year. We partner with you all on a ton of different activities. But wanted to give you time to talk about your programs and drill in a little bit on some of your favorite activities.
Sure. So we do a lot of in-person events that our team facilitates and coordinates, like I mentioned, with Operation Warm or Feed the Children or Arbor Day Foundation, Habitat for Humanity. But one of the things that we've really been challenged on, especially during the pandemic and then even coming out of the pandemic, is still how can we engage teams globally to really volunteer and spend only an hour of time volunteering. And one of the things that we've been working on specifically with Goodera is, and we found has been a huge success, is and also aligns with our commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and opportunity, as I like to say, D&I and O now, is our opportunity to really align around learning ASL, American Sign Language, or even British Sign Language. We've done events in Europe as well that have really engaged team members to learn more about the deaf and hearing impaired community and really be able to learn sign language and then give back by recording a message of positivity, recording happy birthday, and even singing a song. At FedEx, we are a global company. We actually have a large population of deaf and hearing impaired employees at some of our hub locations in Memphis and in Indianapolis. We even have deaf interpreters that are on site to help facilitate and guide those team members, but we also are serving, we might have team members in other locations that are deaf and hearing impaired, and we serve customers who are deaf and hearing impaired. So how can we really understand that community better? Because again, we all may be different, but the reality is we're very similar, and that we all have a lot of the same similarities. It's just how we're communicating directly to them is different. So the sign language classes have been so impactful. We've had team members take, there's this basic sign language class, as well as some secondary classes that Goodera has offered. But, I think, again, learning sign language has been the core basic part of it, but also I think the instructors that we've had, Sherry, she's been amazing. She also talks specifically about that community and the culture and best practices of what to do and what not to do. And not just throwing signs out there to sign because you think you're being when you could actually be kind of disrespecting those people. So I think it's hugely important. I've worked a lot with globally and with our BRTs to create specific moments in time around Deaf Awareness Month, around Helen Keller's birthday. We've done some sign language classes, but they've also been just really unique team building opportunities where executives have reached out to us to do sign language classes for their team because they want to become, it's a great 1 hour team building activity, and it's a great way to learn. And again, I found it to be very impactful. We've had really good communication, really good survey results afterwards, because people, again, it's one of those things. I think there was a question in the Q&A about how do you get people to do surveys. I think the better the program experience is, the more likelihood you're going to get feedback. But I will tell you, team members at FedEx are not shy on their feedback. So if they don't like something, even if I only get a very small response, 10% response, they're going to respond. But those things that are important to them and they're passionate about, we're going to see a higher response rate on those surveys. So like in Operation Warm, like when we do a sign language class with Goodera, we're going to get a 40 to 50% response rate versus I think on average, most people will fill out a survey. It's between 5 and maybe 10% if you're lucky. But again, it just depends on what you're focused on. But the sign language classes have been hugely impactful. I would definitely recommend them. That's again our most popular from a Goodera perspective from a virtual event, followed by probably recording audiobooks and some quizzes that we're creating for students. But again, I think you have to kind of balance it out with what's going to happen, what we can do in person versus how we can engage as team members that only have that 1 hour of time. And I will tell you, we have frontline team members that do not have email addresses in the system that I reach out to or we have team members that work at FedEx office that don't also have, some of them don't have email addresses, but they will get in a conference room and do it together. They will provide their personal email addresses or phone numbers so I can make sure they get the Zoom information. So that's how important and impactful it is to be able to provide these opportunities to team members, especially in the categories of volunteer activities that they want, and you provide them quality volunteer activities.
Well, I know you do a ton of different programs across a ton of different locations and employee types. So thanks for drilling in on this one really meaningful one that you all do and giving us a peek at how that all works. Well, I know we've had way too much fun talking and we are already at time. I did want to ask you both, do you have a moment to stay on just to answer the hottest topic of the day? And everyone, we'll share the recording, we'll share the deck and make sure we give you tips on communicating across different channels as well, and the Q&A. But I really wanted to hear from you both. The hottest question, how do you get people to track their hours? Anyone want to start?
I can start. I mean, a couple of different things that we've used as carrots. I know Kenrick mentioned t-shirts, but t-shirts are a great way to get people to log their hours. Again, it's part of my toolkit and process. And if you want to get t-shirts, you have to post the project on the volunteer site, and people have to be registered, and then we'll send out those t-shirts out. And I don't know why, but people love t-shirts. The second thing that we do is, again, with the rewards and recognition program and what we call the FedEx Founders Fund in the last year, again, we make the top winners will receive a donation to their nonprofit of their choice. Again, it sort of still has to fit within the FedEx guidelines. There's a few like rules and regulations around who we can support, but we allow them to, get grants, and the top winner was able to get a $25,000 grant for their charity of their choice. In Champaign, Illinois, they donated to a parks organization there. And then the other two people, one person was from Dallas and another person was from Memphis. Again, they were able to make a smaller donation, I think a $15,000 and a $10,000 donation to their charity of their choice. And then we also had 3 regional winners where we contributed funds, and people love to be rewarded and recognized. So I think when you provide them those opportunities, that's a really impactful way to get them to, as another carrot to and get their hours in. And then throughout the year, we've been doing a lot of things at a smaller level where we're able to reward and recognize people, whether that's an experiential thing, like I just had a few volunteers help deliver backpacks with Memphis Grizzly player Desmond Bain here in Memphis. 2 weekends ago, we helped, and
Fun
again, people love a surprise and delight where they get to meet like an NBA player, or they get to go to an event. If we have an opportunity with our relationship with the NFL, if you can leverage other assets like sponsorship assets or swag, people love all sorts of swag. So, again, those type of opportunities, I think those help encourage people. But again, it's always a trial and error, because what you may like, somebody else may not like. But t-shirts, people love a t-shirt.
I think most
They surely
volunteers
do.
can write a dissertation on t-shirts. But yeah, I know I love the gamification. I think even for people with more constrained budgets, like that friendly competition and recognition goes a long way when combined with t-shirts for sure. How about you, Kenrick?
So very similar. We use a multi-pronged approach. So first, actually, dollars for doers. We give giving credits for every hour you volunteer. You get a credit that you can donate to the charity of your choice. And so what we've done in the past is actually tell the stories of people who have given to causes that they're passionate about, leveraging the giving credits. And there's someone who volunteered about 50 hours and got a couple $100s to donate to a charity of their choice. And by telling those stories, that makes a huge difference. Also, our global campaigns are a way to ensure that people know what counts for volunteerism. And so at the end of every global campaign, we followed up with communications that share, thank you for participating in our global campaign. And those hours for PayPal-led volunteer events, we will track it on their behalf. But we want them to track everything else, like the non-PayPal-led volunteer events. And so we would send them a note thanking them, but also showcasing what counts for volunteerism. So for example, if you're volunteering on the soup kitchen on your own on the weekend, that counts, like log your volunteer hours. And so giving people that reminder and showcasing stories later on throughout the year, specifically towards the year end, of volunteers that aren't participating in our programs, but just are involved in their local communities, to track that volunteer time. And so those are our main ways. And at the year end, during the season of giving, we also do, similar to Rachel, a variety of incentives. So, lunch with our CEO is an incentive that, people that if you track time this year, you're entered in to win, etc.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it really ties back to the whole, your volunteer campaign is a really good igniter. So it's cool to get a peek into like how you use that engagement to then encourage people to volunteer and record it year round. Well, thank you both so much for joining and sharing your expertise. This has been a super fun conversation. Everyone, we will share out the deck. We'll share answers to your Q&A. Rachel, Kenrick, I'll reach out for you for a couple of tips on those Q&A for sure. And just thank you again, everyone, for joining.
Thank you, Missy.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.